Have you ever held big dreams in your heart, yet never truly taken the first step? Macob was a 5-year-old man living in a small village. He was strong, full of energy, and always carried a deep desire to change his life. He often told his friends that one day he would become the richest farmer in the village, with vast golden fields of his own, and people coming to him for advice. Anyone who heard him would believe that Macob was ambitious and had a bright future ahead. But behind all those confident words, his life was still standing still, because big dreams alone have never been enough to create success. Although Macob was filled with ambition, he had one major weakness. He was extremely lazy. Every morning, as the first rays of sunlight touched the fields, the other farmers were already heading out with their hoes, while Macob remained wrapped in his blanket, sleeping a little longer. While the villagers worked hard under the sun, planting seeds and tending their crops, he would sit under the shade of a tree, passionately talking about his grand plans. Macob always said that one day he would be rich, successful, and admired by everyone. But when the moment came to actually take action, he would come up with all kinds of excuses to put it off, usually saying just one word: tomorrow. He loved dreaming about success, but he kept avoiding the hard work that success always demands. One afternoon, Macob's elderly uncle, a seasoned and wise farmer, came to visit him as he often did. He stood silently in front of Macob's wide field, land that was once fertile, soft, and full of potential, but now lay empty and dry. There were no sprouts, no signs of care, and not even the slightest hope of a good harvest. The uncle remembered all the times Macob had excitedly spoken about his dream of becoming the richest farmer in the village, yet the field before him had been completely neglected. He understood that Macob's problem was not a lack of dreams, but a lack of action. So he decided to teach him a profound lesson. Seeing that Macob still did not understand why his life remained stuck in the same place, his uncle slowly took 2 small bags from his pocket and placed them in Macob's hands. Inside were 2 special seeds. He explained that the first was the seed of ambition. If it was planted in the soil, watered, and cared for every day, it would grow into a strong tree that could provide shade, sweet fruit, and a life of abundance. The second was the seed of laziness. It grew very quickly and needed almost no care, but it would spread like weeds, covering the entire field and choking everything good around it. Then his uncle looked straight at Macob and said that his future lay within those 2 seeds. Whatever he chose to nurture would grow and shape his life. If you are dreaming big, but still keep putting things off, keep listening to this story. It may awaken something in you. As he held the 2 seeds in his hands, Macob knew very well which one he should choose. Deep inside, his ambition was still strong, and he told himself that of course he would plant the seed of aspiration and begin building the life he had always dreamed of. But just like every time before, when morning came, Macob felt tired and unmotivated again. He looked out at the field and said to himself, "I'll start tomorrow. There's no need to rush today." One day passed, then many more, but that promise remained only in his mind. In the end, out of boredom and curiosity, Macob took both seeds to the field and planted them without giving it any serious thought. He comforted himself by thinking that he could plant them first and take care of them later when he had more time. But after planting them, Macob returned to his old habits. He kept sleeping in, sitting under the shade of a tree, chatting and dreaming of a bright future without actually lifting a finger to do anything. He forgot that the seed of ambition could not survive without water, without care, and without small daily actions. That constant delay caused Macob to unknowingly nurture the worst part of himself, while his beautiful dream was left neglected and slowly began to wither away. Many weeks passed, and Macob almost completely forgot about the 2 seeds he had planted. Each day, he continued living the same way as before, sleeping in until the sun was high, sitting under the shade of a tree, chatting with friends, and still dreaming of a glorious future without doing anything to move closer to it. Then one day, when he stepped out into the field, Jacob stood frozen at the sight before him. The seed of laziness had grown very quickly, but not into anything good. Instead, it had turned into thick, wild weeds that spread across the entire field. Tangling together and choking everything in their path, they covered the paths, drained all the nutrients from the soil, and left the land barren and ruined. As for the seed of ambition, the one that once carried his hope for a better life, it was now nothing more than a weak, withered sprout, nearly dried up and dead, because it had never been watered or cared for even once. In that moment, Jacob was shocked to realize that his dream was slowly being destroyed by his own laziness. Just as Jacob stood frozen before the ruined field, his elderly uncle appeared once again. Looking at the land overrun with weeds, he slowly said, "Jacob, look carefully at this field, because it is a reflection of your life." He explained that ambition is like a tiny seed. It cannot grow through beautiful words or promising dreams alone. It must be watered with effort, nourished by discipline, and protected through actions repeated day after day. Without care, it will gradually weaken and die. Laziness, on the other hand, is completely different. It does not need to be fed, yet it still grows quickly on its own. Once it takes root, it spreads, consumes your time and energy, and suffocates every good opportunity in life. Then his uncle looked straight at Jacob and said that he had not failed because he lacked dreams, but because he had allowed laziness to grow faster than his ambition. Those words struck Jacob deeply, like a wake-up call from a long sleep. For the first time, he truly understood that dreaming alone is never enough. Only action can keep a dream alive. After that moment of awakening, Jacob decided that he would no longer let his life be buried in procrastination. The very next morning, before the sun had even risen, he stepped into the field with his bare hands and began pulling out the weeds one by one. It was exhausting work. The soil was hard and dry, the weeds had deep roots. His hands began to bleed, and his back ached with pain. But this time, he did not stop. After clearing the field, Jacob began watering the remaining seed of ambition and cared for it every day with a level of patience and determination he had never shown before. Day by day, the weak little sprout slowly came back to life, growing into a healthy green tree. And over the years, it became a great tree that bore sweet fruit, gave cooling shade, and brought abundance. More importantly, Jacob himself changed from within. He was no longer the young man who only talked about success, but someone who dared to take action and turn his dream into reality. If you enjoyed this story, comment 9 to give me a little more motivation